The Classical Concerto. A classical concerto is a three-movement work for an instrument soloist and orchestra. It combines the soloist's virtuosity and interpretive abilities with the orchestra's wide range of tone, color, and dynamics. The soloist is very much the star, and all of his or her musical talents are needed in this challenging dialogue. The classical love of balance can be seen in the concerto because soloists and orchestra are equally important. Between them, there's an interplay of melodic lines and a spirit of give and take. One moment the soloist plays the melody while the orchestra accompanies. Then, the woodwinds may unfold the main theme against the ripping arpeggios or broken chords played by the soloist. Mozart and Beethoven, the greatest masters of the classical concerto, often wrote concertos for themselves to play as piano soloists. The piano is their favored solo instrument. But other solo instruments used in classical concertos include violin, cello, horn, trumpet, clarinet, and bassoon. Like symphonies, concertos can last anywhere from 20 minutes to 45 minutes, but instead of a symphony's 4 movements, the classical concerto has only 3: a fast movement, a slow movement, and a fast movement. A concerto has no minuet and scherzo. Classical chamber music. Classical chamber music is designed for an intimate setting of a room, a chamber, in a home or a palace rather than a public concert hall. It is performed by a small group of 2 to 9 musicians with one player to a part. Chamber music is lighter in sound than classical orchestra music. During the classical period, it was fashionable for the aristocrats or a member of the well-to-do middle class to play chamber music with friends and hire professional musicians to entertain guests after dinner. The most important form in the classical chamber music is the string quartet, written for 2 violins, a viola, and a cello. Haydn, Mozart, and Beethoven wrote some of their most important music in this form. A string quartet can be compared to a conversation among 4 lively, sensitive, and intelligent people. It's not surprising that the string quartet evolved when conversation was cultivated as a fine art. Like a symphony, a string quartet usually consists of 4 movements. The first one is fast, the second one is slow, the third one is a minuet or scherzo, and the fourth one is fast. And then sometimes the second movement is a minuet or scherzo, and the slow movement is the third. So sometimes they move it around. Other popular forms of classical chamber music are the sonata for violin and piano, the piano trio, which is for violin, cello, and piano, and the string quintet, 2 violins, 2 violas, and cello. Today, as in the 18th century, much chamber music is performed by amateurs. We're going to listen to Mozart's Piano Concerto number 23 in A major, K488. We're going to listen to the first movement titled Allegro. So it's a piano concerto. So it's concerto form, but it's not as obvious as the Baroque concerto form. First of all, the actual movement is in sonata form. But it still has the rotation back between the solo instrument and the orchestra. However, at times the orchestra plays with the soloist. Sometimes the soloist doesn't play. Sometimes the soloist is complementing the orchestra, etc. So what we really got is we've got a sonata movement. So we have 3 parts to it again. We have an exposition, a development, and a recapitulation. And the exposition is repeated. So what you got going here is you've got the exposition is played all by the orchestra, and then in the repeat, the piano starts up. So kind of a running tally of how it's working here. If you're watching the video, you can do it by time. So it starts out, and one of the advantages you have in almost everything here is there's going to be a pause between major parts. There are other pauses that might be internal. So you get the first theme at the beginning, and it's played by the orchestra. Then you get the second theme, and that's at about a minute or just shy of a minute. It's right around there. And there is a pause between it. Then you get the repeat, and that's at around 2 minutes, I believe. And the piano will start. So this is the repeat of the exposition. The piano will start playing. It'll play the first theme group. At about 3 minutes, there's going to be a pause again. He'll play the second theme area. Then there's going to be a sudden pause, and we're into the development. And that's at about 4.5 minutes. And then at about 6:20 or 6:30, around there, you're going to get the recapitulation, which will be the first theme again. And then after that, you're going to get a coda, and it's going to be long and extended. So if you have the book, it's on page 492, and you can follow along. It's pretty close. Within a couple of seconds of that timeline is when these things happen.